Welcome to Modern Anarchy, the podcast exploring sex, relationships, and liberation. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole.
I tried to keep her quiet, but she's screaming inside of me. I tried to keep her hiding, oh, shut up. I tried to keep her quiet, but she's a wild, wild woman.
On today's episode, we have Michelle. Join us for a conversation all about how these current systems are impacting our access to eroticism. Together, we talk about cuckolding your jealousy, the sexiness of respecting others' autonomy, and being an ethical slut. Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to Modern Anarchy. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole. I'm a sex and relationship psychotherapist providing psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, author of the Psychedelic Jealousy Guide, and founder of The Pleasure Practice, where I support individuals in crafting pleasurable sex lives and non-monogamous relationships. Dear listener, this episode with Michelle was so real and vulnerable and raw, just really sitting in the reality that when these systems are so rampantly, what even are the words? Destroying, impacting, horrific, the horrors, all of the things that we see in the world currently, yeah, it's going to impact your access to eroticism. And so we really sat in that impact. What has it been feeling like in our bodies, in our community's bodies, and also trusting that joy is a revolutionary piece of this, right? Michelle and I come together to laugh and to giggle and to be present with the joy that is also possible during this time. And I'm just really grateful for the vulnerability of it all, really grateful for Michelle. It's, one of those moments you can just feel that someone's being present with you as just another fellow human being in this world and being really authentic with the journey, with all of the pieces that come with being an ethical slut. And dear listener, I'm so, so glad that you are here. All right, dear listener, if you are ready to liberate your pleasure, you can explore my offerings and free resources at modernanarchypodcast.com. Y'all, talking about joy and queer joy, I am having a psychedelic group therapy. It is coming up starting May 26th. It's a 6-week experience with one medicine day on June 13th, and it's called Queer Joy. Now, yeah, there are lots of healing spaces, lots of psychedelic work around there, but in my journey into this space, I've just seen how we lack dedicated queer-specific group psychedelic experiences with this therapy. So me and my collaborator, Meggie, are holding a specifically queer-focused psychedelic experience, psychedelic group therapy experience. Dear listener, if you want to join me and a small group of individuals who are going to celebrate on June 13th with a psychedelic experience in Pride, you can find more with the hyperlink below in the show notes. I would love to see you there. And regardless of what you're doing, I hope that you enjoy your Pride when it does come up. And I want to say the biggest thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. You are supporting the long-term sustainability of the podcast, keeping this content free and accessible to all people. So thank you. And with that, dear listener, please know that I'm sending you all my love, and let's tune in to today's episode. Dear listener, there's a space already waiting for you where you are invited to let go of every old script about sex and relationships and begin living a life rooted in your pleasure, empowerment, and deep alignment. I'm Dr. Nicole, and this is your invitation to the Pleasure Liberation Groups, a transformative, educational, and deeply immersive experience designed for visionary individuals like you. Together, we'll gather in community to explore desire, expand relational wisdom, and embody the lives we're here to lead. Each session is woven with practices, teachings, and the kind of connection that makes real transformation possible. And I'll be right there with you, guiding the process with an embodied curriculum that supports both personal and collective liberation. This is your invitation into the next chapter of your erotic evolution. Say yes to your pleasure and visit modernanarchypodcast.com/pleasure practice to apply. And the first question that I ask every guest on the show is, how would you introduce yourself to the listeners?
Hi, I'm Michelle. Hi, I'm a Portlander born and raised, and I'm a polyamory content creator. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
5 years in, and I don't know
Yeah.
what to call it.
It's probably changed over the 5 years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's such a joy to have you on the podcast again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me back. It's good to be back.
Curious for me and the listeners, any big changes since the last couple of years we've checked in? Your love life, your pleasure liberation. What's been going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably biggest changes is that I'm not quite as active with the Instagram anymore. I
Sure.
think reevaluating relationships with social media, that sort of
Huge.
thing. Especially since it's not something that I use to as my full-time job paying the bills. So I got to a point where in my day-to-day, I kept thinking, oh, how could I turn this into content? And then I just realized I didn't like that. So
Right. Yep.
stepped away a lot. Also, I felt I was repeating myself a lot. And
Mm.
yeah, so I've been creating content. I call myself a content creator, but I've been creating content a lot less, but have been enjoying that a lot more. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you're finding the balance, right?
hmm
When we checked in, we already said we wanted to talk about systems of oppression and how deep they are,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so to think about that capitalistic push, the hustle, the hustle, the hustle, the hustle, and
Mm,
instantly going into burnout, right? Because we're
hmm
trying to get out of these systems through that. I mean, that's also not a
hmm
sustainable model. So I'm so glad that you found some sustainability.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And any big changes in your personal life around the practices? Any big shifts around that?
Not many huge shifts. I think, God, I mean, it's hard to think. I think the last time I was on here about 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but I think things have just been pretty nice and steady.
Yeah, good.
I feel like there's been a natural, I think, ebb and flow of people, but that just happens in life regardless of non-monogamy,
Right, right, right.
and how much time we spend with people. But yeah, it's been pretty stable. Nothing exciting or terrible,
Yeah.
which I'm very, very grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Absolutely. Right. Stability is also really good, because it can be
God,
messy at the
yeah.
beginning, right? Things are flying left
hmm
and right. I feel like I've gotten much more stable in my practice of non-monogamy in the last 2 years. There's like lessons every day. And so I feel like to hit a point where you're like, it's pretty calm. That's great. It's also great.
Yeah, love calm, love calm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially in this like post 30s,
Mm.
post 30 life. It's just nice and boring. It's
Ah,
underrated.
yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
hmm
And I know you specifically wanted to talk about sex under fascism.
Oh God,
Da da
yeah.
da, that the
Bum,
word. Oh
bum,
no. Oh
bum.
no.
The
How
F
dare
word.
she? Ah, exactly. I'm curious, what does
hmm
that phrase mean to you? Take up the full space. I'd love to hear where
hmm
your head has been at on these topics.
Yeah, something like talking about sex under fascism and under increasingly more authoritarian times. I've actually been thinking about Gen Z a lot because, like,
Mm,
at least online, you'll hear there's this impression that a lot of Gen Z, there seems to be this return, not fully, but you get these inklings of this return to more of a purity culture
oh
mindset. There's a
no.
bit more prudishness. I
Yeah.
mean, and this definitely isn't all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I see it more than one would want, right?
Mm,
But then I read this article, I can't remember where it was from, where maybe millennials seem to have a bit more freedom and liberty around sex. We still had Roe versus Wade and things like that. But now, I mean, yeah, like Roe v. Wade was overturned, things like abortion access and access to sexual health resources are dwindling. are getting under attack. And so
Right.
it's like no wonder this younger generation of sexually active people are being more hesitant to just be like just fucking around all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so yeah, so that was like a bias that I had to check for myself of like, oh, the kids are becoming more prude. It's like, no, there are reasons, it's not
Yeah.
just it doesn't come out of like nowhere.
Right.
Like with Sex in the City and whatnot,
Mm.
very
Yeah.
millennial, like especially for women, it's like, oh, sexual liberation will lead to, I don't know, greater happiness and greater freedom and all this and that and that. But I think there was too much focus on individual sexual freedom, and especially, like something like Sex in the City, which is just a bunch of upper middle class or whatever white women
Yep.
fucking around.
Yep.
Um, that it's like I think younger generations are like, well, where did that lead us?
Mm,
We're
mm-hmm.
still here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I think that's a lot of what I've been thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, Broad City is much more relatable.
Oh my God, Broad City, hell yeah.
Much more relatable in that sense.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, it seems like it's increasingly polarized times, right? So you're
Hmm.
either really going
Hmm.
in one camp or the other. Obviously, there's a swath that we don't see in the middle, but under these systems, you see people really going deep into one, probably trying to find security, right, in one or the other
Hmm.
camp.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, a lot of the research I had done for my dissertation was showing that the younger generations were increasingly interested in non-monogamous relationships. It was this,
Hmm.
there's still not enough research on it. So it was a survey study from YouGov, which is not, we need more than one survey study from, but that's what we got. So that, that was at least saying that like younger generations, 40% of them were saying they want some form of open relating. And then it kind of, slowly got smaller and smaller as you went up in the age generations. So it's interesting. There is a lot of sexual expansion that is happening culturally, right? We're getting much more examples of non-monogamy. We're having TV shows for good, bad, or otherwise of what they present,
Hmm. Oh
around
God. Oh.
non-monogamy. Yes, that's a whole topic, you know? And so it is fascinating, but we also see this rise in hyper, like, purity culture and all of that sort of stuff too. And so it's a really interesting time as people are going deeper into this, like restriction and expansion. And I'm really grateful for the internet, for people like you, the ability to have this podcast, because it makes this information accessible globally in a way that it truly wasn't previously. Even thinking about
Hmm.
queer culture, kink culture, the amount of years we had to really hide in the dark for protection, and we're still having to hide, at work in different situations, of course, and
Hmm.
also we're in such a time where we still can talk about these things. The more privilege you have, the more capacity you have to really push that edge. And also, I like to be optimistic despite the fascism. Like I do like to be optimistic
Hmm.
that there's been so much consciousness raising that the hell we're going to continue to raise, if it restricts us even more, is going to be vicious. I like to have that, but
No, I know what you mean with the optimism, where it's like it's really
yeah,
hard to be optimistic when every day there's a new fucked up headline. But like the optimism kind of has to be there because what's the alternative? We just give in.
yeah, big days
Yeah.
of despair, big days of despair.
Uh,
and and also when you think about sexuality and eroticism, it comes from a place of play and being
mm,
able to
hmm.
really explore different areas of yourself. And if you're under constant attack, if you're stressed out about how you're going to be able to feed yourself, all these things, that's not the time to play.
Hmm.
So why
Hmm.
would you be in your body in that way when there's so many things going on, right? And so I think that that's another piece, to have compassion for ourselves on those days where it feels quite literally impossible to tap into any sense of sexuality, which I definitely experienced long periods of, where I'm like, well, I can't fucking play under all of this stuff. I've got shit to do. I've got activism work to do. Like, what is this,
Hmm.
And so I think that's also a huge part of what we're seeing, is just truly the systems creating a container where play and pleasure doesn't even feel accessible.
Hmm. It is like it's sad,
Yeah,
but it does feel like a privileged thing sometimes, where it's like, oh, that that like we can even sit here and just talk about like sex and
definitely.
pleasure and things like that. And
Yep.
yeah, because sex is nice and physical touch is nice and stuff, but I guess live without sex, but I can't live without food.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I think there's a lot of that attitude that we are seeing, where sex and pleasure are being deprioritized out of necessity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 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 And there are days where I do like have rituals with myself of self-love and self-pleasuring where I'll still lay down and it's not like I'm necessarily quote unquote horny or turned on, but I know that by giving that time to my body, by being with my body in that way, I'm not that it's all about the orgasm, but when I do get to that state of orgasmic release, we're having all of the neurochemicals going on, you're having that relaxed state of the body take over, right? And so I do think of that as part of the like political work, right? Is when
Mm,
there is so much tension, do I have time for myself to actually like create that release so that way I can show up better with my clients, so I can show up better in these moments, right? So I do think there's a way like to treat it as a form of self-care and activism
mm,
work too, and acknowledge that it's not always going to feel like what you want to do in that moment, but it can be once you get there, a bit more responsive.
mm-hmm. I was thinking of a thing that's kind of related,
Mm-hmm.
discussions around like hookup culture.
Mm,
And it's related in that I hear a sentiment from a lot of women, and it is understandable why this sentiment exists, where it's like, why are we promoting hookup culture? Hookup culture doesn't benefit women at all. And then it just makes me think of like, well, I do know how gendered and unbalanced hookup culture can be,
mm-hmm.
especially in more cis heteronormative ways of relating. But I'm like, damn, it just makes me sad thinking about women
Mm,
going to hook up and just like picking partners who don't focus on their pleasure at all,
yeah.
or and it's something that is kind of taught to us not to advocate for ourselves, where it's like, well, I guess he's not a muncher, so I guess I'll just have to go without being eaten out, and it's just the way
Mm,
that it is,
mm,
and that kind of thing. Or I can't ask for what I want because that would be
mm.
too needy, and I would push away my situationship, and what would I be left with? And yeah, so I think this, what you're talking about with like prioritizing care and your pleasure, and that whole, you got to fill your cup to fill other people's cup type kind of thing. Yeah, so again, like sex under fascism and these views that aren't new, but that seem to be cropping up a little bit more about sex, and these little conservative talking heads peeking out. It's worrisome, very
Oh, yeah.
worrisome.
Absolutely. 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 When you're talking about hookup culture, I'm curious if you could, yeah, I heard you start to, but paint more of a picture of what you mean with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I think about hookup culture, you can see that in this like deep community polyamorous sense where we're all having this huge play party, we're all hooking up with each other, and we talk to each other about how we feel about it. But I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're talking about, right? And so I was like, ooh,
No.
yeah, let's define that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what does that look like? What are the expectations under that sort of framework?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I think, God, when I do think of mainstream hookup culture, yeah, it's like, I don't know, a man and a woman who meet up at a bar, and then there's like not much discussion. They're just like, okay, what, I can touch your body with my body, and that's like the extent of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sex, just in my mind, just looks so, it's just so cishet. Like it's just
Yeah.
very much more male focused.
Mm,
I'm not imagining that much foreplay. There's,
mm,
it's maybe doesn't last too long, which like doesn't things don't have to last very long to be pleasurable. But again, where's the foreplay? Where's the aftercare?
mm-hmm.
Where's the communication? Where's the care at all? Because I think a lot of people associate not caring,
Mm,
or having no affection at all or something during hookup culture, like to have a one night stand and there's just no care at all. And I'm not saying that like that's always bad. I think there are some people who can enjoy that, but I think a lot of the people who critique hookup culture think that it's all about not having any care.
mm.
And again, I think part of it, being raised as a woman, not being taught to advocate for ourselves, and that that's
Yeah.
bad and that we
Yeah.
can't expect more. Yeah, like you were saying, where it's like, oh, this more non-monogamous or polyamorous or kind of queer, kind of hook up. It's like the stereotype that we just communicate the shit out of all of our connections, no matter how long or
Mm-hmm.
short.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like that's what I think of. And so when I feel like I live in this bubble and then I
Yeah.
read about other people's experiences and I'm like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
shit, I
Oh
forget.
right, right,
I forget
exactly.
people are out there unfortunately
Totally.
having bad sex, which isn't all their fault. Like I'm not blaming individuals for this necessarily because just sex education and
Right.
how we're taught to relate is just so bad that I'm like, damn, people are out
Right.
there having really bad sex. That's so sad.
Right, right. Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And I think it's important, as you named, the cishet mononormative traditional culture around this. Because when I think about kink culture, right, there is pickup play in kink culture,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
when done with, as lovingly as possible, as present as possible, right? There's a consent conversation beforehand. There's questions about limits. There is aftercare where you're talking about what that felt like and how that meant, like, that is the antithesis of what you're talking about. And kink isn't always sexual, but it can
Mm-hmm.
be. And so we're talking about like intense sexual experiences where it has all of that, right? Like we have
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And then this other space, like the more, yeah, mononormative, cis het, traditional sex narrative where it's like, usually the male is like stoic and whatever about it, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously it goes both ways across all different genders. But it's so fascinating, right? How like that lack of care is almost like the attractive pinnacle of it all compared to
Mm-hmm.
like a deep, deep, deep sexually focused and erotically focused culture of kink.
Mm-hmm.
And there we are, right? Like it's kind of, that's crazy. Like the more you get, this is something I'd always talk about in the podcast, how I would go out to a traditional bar and get groped and felt up by a slew of men in uncomfortable experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go to a play party in a kink place where I'm like actively fucking naked. And there's serious respect where people don't come up to me and touch me or make me feel uncomfortable, generally speaking. Like I've had worse experiences at a bar than a sex party, which is
Mm-hmm.
telling of something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, the subculture and microculture around, kink and sex parties and those kinds of spaces, like again, I feel like in a bubble, like
Yeah, yeah,
going to one of the clubs here in Portland, like Sanctuary, which is has a bit more queerness, and like the other clubs here are a bit more geared toward like the traditional like swingers
yeah. Mm-hmm.
types
Sure.
of clubs. But yeah, where it's like if someone touches you without consent, like you can just go to a dungeon monitor or something immediately, or you can say like, hey, no touching. And if they do that again, go to a dungeon monitor, and that person is just like kicked out. And I just wish, yeah, I wish that were more normalized.
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely, right? Absolutely. And you and I both know that not all those spaces are perfect too, right? So we have to be careful.
Oh
We
God,
can't be like, oh
yeah.
my God, we're so perfect over here. Like there's mess across all of it
No,
too.
no.
However, seems like a strong dichotomy. And it reminds me a lot of the psychedelic work that I do with my clients and how we talk about harm reduction and how education can really reduce harm, right? Like we need to know how to safely access drugs. People are gonna have
Mm-hmm.
sex, people are gonna do drugs. How do we do
Mm-hmm.
that in a safe way that really
Mm-hmm.
enhances pleasure for everybody, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we
Mm-hmm.
know that the more educated you are on drugs, the safer you can be with it, right? And so thinking similarly about sex, right? The more educated you are on these things, the safer you're going to be. But God forbid, quite literally, right? That like we talk about that. No, bad,
Mm-hmm.
bad. It's going to make them do it more, which is actually kind of funny. I really don't think that's
Right.
the case. The Ashley, the dating site Ashley Madison.
Oh God, yes. That
Fascinating,
old
right?
thing.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of their highest demographics of users in the United States. You want to guess what state it is?
Like Utah I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
fucking Utah.
Utah, yeah.
Whoa, wow, wow, don't do it. What
Mm-hmm.
happens?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
fascinating.
Yep, yep, yep. I mean, and then when like Pornhub releases their top searches by state and whatnot, and it's like,
What is it, Anna?
a lot of like repressed more
Stepmom.
conservative leaning states have things that if they were out on the street, they would publicly kind of deny and everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, all this repression and making things taboo, just God, I don't know, like the human animal just loves a taboo, right? It just like we
Mm-hmm.
salivate over a taboo. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which part of me wonders, yes, I think we like to push the boundaries. We want the taboo. And then this deeper thought of me wonders how much is that also a product of our timeline where something that is beautiful, healthy, something that brings pleasure, right? Sexuality, eroticism has been paired because of puritanical culture for so long, right? That our classical conditioning around that pleasure is like, it's wrong and I want it, it's wrong and I want it, it's wrong. Like, how much does that really intensify? As we're saying, right? The more in Utah you are, the stronger you have these desires, right? And so I would be curious about like a cross cultural study that could look into fantasies. I remember watching Netflix Pleasure Principles, the Principles of Pleasure, I think is what it's called. And they had
Mm-hmm.
found that non consensual fantasies were much higher in the United States than other countries around the world, right? And so that's fascinating. You got to think about the cultural context. Like, what fascism, right? Like, what sort of place are we
Mm-hmm.
living in that is creating the fantasies that when you look across cultures, it's actually not the same? And so I would be super curious about like less sexually repressed societies. And granted, white like colonizer mentality, it really took a number on the fucking globe. So
Oh God,
hard to
yeah.
like get into spaces where that isn't, you know what I mean? But I am
Mm-hmm.
curious
Mm-hmm.
culturally across how that would look.
God, yeah, all the data that we could have if
I know.
we weren't so like icked out by sex and stuff like that. Yeah, all the fascinating data we could have. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it gets into some like really fun, nuanced conversations, right? We're talking about systems. How do we hold an honoring for the things that naturally turn us on? Well, even maybe I won't use that word naturally, right? Because here's the conversation we're
Mm-hmm.
having. Like, how do I hold space for the things that my body responds to and is turned on by? And also a critical lens of this the system that I'm in, the water that I live in, that's pretty murky and not pretty like clear. Like, how do you hold that nuance of honoring your desires while also being critical about them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like this reminds me a lot of the, conversation around like what preferences actually are.
Mm.
Because a lot of people like to hide behind, oh, it's a preference, and because I put the P word there, you cannot criticize me for my decisions. But it's like, are you not even curious about yourself? Do you not interrogate yourself at all? Do you not
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
introspect about why
Mm-hmm.
your preference is the way that it is?
Yep.
And I think like it's so fascinating that that will be thrown in the face of like kinksters or something where it's like, oh,
Mm.
don't you interrogate why you like to be tied up and
Uh,
like throttled or whatever? And it's like, actually, a lot of kinksters do think about that a lot. And
yeah,
they
thank
talk
you. Yeah,
about
yeah.
that and
You want
like
my essay? I have lots of thoughts.
right, right. Here's the journal entry, my five
Exactly.
page journal entry where I
Uh-huh.
like introspect.
Yep.
And here's the conversation that I had with my therapist about
Exactly.
it.
I was gonna say I hold those spaces as a therapist.
Right,
Totally.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Integration, I
And
think,
it's
is
like,
important.
especially, kink and like when you get into edge play and things like that, like you were saying where, in the United States, non-consensual situations are a bit higher than the rest of the world. Like yeah, edge play, things like consensual non-consent and things like that, which like I've engaged in too. And it's something
Yeah,
that I've thought
totally.
about. It's like, damn, like, yeah, why, why? And
Yeah.
going back to, what you were saying about, sex and eroticism, a lot of it being about play,
Mm.
rather than just like explicit sex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so interesting what you can explore in these safe, well negotiated containers.
Mm-hmm.
Just what an outlet it can
Oh
be.
yeah. Oh
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I try to explain to my clients who have these hot fantasies. I'll use one of my like ones when I was first coming into non-monogamy. I really wanted my metamor to be a part of a cuckolding scene where she had to watch me fuck our shared partner. Now we can know I'm just stepping into non-monogamy, the jealous parts of me, the parts of me that want to assert power, right? Like all
Mm.
of that is right there. And
Hmm.
so the beauty when I share with my clients is that sometimes we can have really hot scenes like that. And we can feel how close they are to these tender parts of our psyche. And what we don't want is for that to come out unconsciously, where I'm making one up comments and when we're all sharing space, or I'm trying to do this or that. Now, it's a very different thing to sit down with my metamor and say, hey, I'm noticing that the jealous parts of me really have this fantasy that I want to play with. I'm
Hmm.
curious if you'd be on board to do that. And then you give this moment of empowerment and choice, right? Where they can say
Hmm.
yes or no. And if they say no, like, that's totally great. Thank you for telling me. If they say yes, now we get to play with parts of my psyche, their psyche, that everyone's on board to explore the edge of, right?
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
that's some really powerful, like metaphorically psychedelic spaces where, like, I don't know what's on the other side of that door. I see the door right there of my consciousness. What happens when I cross the
Hmm.
line? And I think that's so much a better use of that energy and capacity than being unconscious about it. And like when I'm in a conversation with her, being like, well, I do this. What do you do? You know, like trying to one up in these other unconscious ways. Like
Hmm.
it's the intentionality, the consciousness of playing with it, and then the consent that makes it radically different.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, the heights that we can go to just communicating
Mm-hmm.
with one another, like
Oh, yeah.
interrogating and then communicating with one another, and then like the consent piece and just how important and crucial it is, and not just as a like, okay, I guess, or
Yeah, yeah.
like, I guess we won't, or whatever,
God,
but just like
yeah.
really respecting another person and their autonomy. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's so hot, you
Ah!
know.
Yeah.
Love respecting a person's autonomy, even if I don't get like what I want, if my little id doesn't get what it wants
Sure.
in the
I hear
moment.
you. I hear
Yeah.
you. I hear
But
you.
damn, is it hot to respect other people's autonomy?
Yeah, because it's a reflection of how much you see their selfhood, how much you see their
Hmm.
power, how much you see them as a full human being, not just a way to fulfill your desires or an object, as some
Hmm.
psychodynamic theory
Hmm.
gets into, like just a pure object to fulfill what you want, right? Like when you really
Hmm.
see someone's full capacity and you sit with that and you start to think about in your own head the millions of thoughts we have in a day, the feelings we have, the depth of all of that. And then you remember, wow, this person that I'm sitting across from has all of that too,
Hmm.
and I'm going to respect that and everything that they're saying and sharing. Yeah, of course that's hot. You really like feel the power of both beings there, right? And it seems
Hmm.
like that's really at the core of the culture that we want to foster as pleasure activists, right? Rather than the, bar culture, right? Like that is not respecting another person's full being and power and what they need, right? Like that, I feel like that's the antithesis of it all. It's like, do you respect this person?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and right. I think that's the thing missing from a lot of hookup cultures, like the care and the respect. And it's like, well, no wonder you hate hookup culture. And yes, like I
Yeah.
think, mainstream cishet mononormative hookup culture could be better. It could be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, God, no wonder. Because you're
Exactly.
having bad sex, you've had bad experiences. Of course, because it's kind of set up
Yep.
for you to have bad experiences.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. Right.
You can
I
expect
know.
more.
I know. I know. Which is
Hmm.
hard if you're not in that culture, though. You're like, what are you talking?
Hmm.
Like, I'm out here and it's bad, Michelle. Like, it's bad. Like, but then once you
Yeah.
get to that, queer party where there's 30 people all who know each other, hang out repeatedly and fuck, like across multiple
Hmm.
dynamics, you're like, oh, wow, I had no idea this existed. Right. And so
Hmm.
it's such a paradigm shift once you step into that, which is also why I've loved having this podcast space where I get to talk to people
Hmm.
like you, right? For the people who have never heard any of this culture, right? To like hear repeated guests say, like, no, this exists, this exists. I hope it's an invitation for people to really want more and expect more and trust that it's out there.
Hmm. Yeah, and it can be scariest again, especially in these times, like
Oh,
where
yeah.
I mean, people are literally being policed more. And yeah, it's just a lot more conservative all around. Which isn't to say that there aren't strongholds and whatnot. Like living in the Portland area, I do feel fortunate that we do have a bit of a buffer. Who knows how thick that buffer
Yeah.
is and how long it'll last, but for now it's like we still have access to Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
People can still get, abortions if they need to without having to go across state lines, and
Right.
things like that, like gender affirming care is relatively more accessible here than a lot of places. So that's something I'm very grateful for. But again, it's like we can't rely on that. We can't rely on that lasting forever. So yeah, we gotta
No.
stay vigilant. And yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's a little hard to stay in your body and experience pleasure when we have to stay vigilant like that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Chicago still has a lot of access to those resources right now. And also, ICE is on the streets everywhere out
Yeah,
here. It's
yeah.
horrific, horrific. And you're constantly hearing helicopters over our city.
Hmm.
It's been like that for months. I like to take a moment to like take a breath and hope that it will be better when this episode gets released, right? Like to like hope, but like I don't know. And I
Yeah.
have a lot of privilege walking around as a white woman. I'm not scared of being taken off the streets, right? But I'm seeing my neighbors. I'm seeing it is horrific. And so, like,
Hmm.
in what world are you supposed to be playing when that's happening, right? It is,
Yeah, when we got like modern Gestapo, like,
yeah,
yeah, cosplaying little soldiers with their little skull bandanas, and yeah, just fucked up. Hmm.
mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah, I don't even know how to transition out of that.
I know,
You know,
it's
and
like,
I'm like, what
damn.
are,
Well, we reached the Gestapo part. What?
yeah, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
time to go do something. Yeah, like uh, I guess part of that too is like, I, as a pleasure activist, right? Like, I have to trust also that I'm pulling my thread of the equation. You know what I mean? Like, when I'm doing like the listeners cannot see my face right now. I'm like rubbing my head, trying to like sit with this, like, like every,
Self-soothing, yeah.
yeah, I'm trying
Hmm.
to self soothe because it's like,
Hmm.
so many of us have to go to jobs. We're under the systems, right? We have to go to the
Hmm.
jobs to get health care, to be able to like be
Ugh.
relatively functioning in this society. So you have to keep playing the
Hmm.
game and you see these things going on, right? And so it brings up so much cognitive dissonance, so much numbing that you have to kind of sit through and you're working your 8-hour day, you're scrolling, you see these things, and then you have to numb and go back to like a sales call for a big corporate business if that's what you're working in. Like the cognitive dissonance that you have to hold between
Hmm.
caring for humanity and continuing to support billionaires is like fucking insane, right? And so
Hmm.
I try to think when I'm like working with my clients about like embodiment and pleasure liberation and supporting queers, supporting people more expansive, that this is a part of the work, but it's a lot to hold in our current time and like feel any sense of pleasure with.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of why so many people are feeling so much angst, and like myself included, definitely, is we definitely weren't built to have so many opinions and so much news and
No.
information
No.
into our little brains at once like this,
Yeah.
where it's like scrolling on TikTok in the span of 30 minutes, you'll hear 100 different viewpoints on, dozens of different things.
Yeah.
And I think we're short circuiting our brains in search of, a crumb of dopamine or
Totally.
whatnot, and a crumb of pleasure or some satisfaction or some meaning, because we're just such, meaning hungry animals.
Yeah.
We need a narrative, we need things to fit. And because there's so many different pieces, it's so hard for our brains to consolidate all of that into one clean
Mm-hmm.
cultural narrative. So yeah, I think that's a lot of, I think, umbrella reasons for our current angst, and no idea how we're gonna fix that or anything, or
Yeah,
how we're
yeah.
gonna
Just
evolve through
naming
that.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, 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 yeah. Like we definitely, weren't made to scroll through Twitter and and wade through all of this discourse all the time. Hmm.
No, and the algorithms are wild, right? You'll be like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, like cat video, genocide, genocide, cat video,
Yes.
ice, 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 cats. but cats though, right? At least mine is
Hmm.
like lots of cats,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
like how I'm like my brain is like going back and forth between these
Hmm.
experiences that are yeah, that's not how we're meant to experience life, right? And so I
Hmm.
do think that creates a level of numbing that impacts all of us, right?
Hmm.
When you see all of this, like to be like these are things that actively we should all be stopping the whole fucking system and protesting tomorrow for. But there's so much threat of, again, your bodily safety. If you don't work under this system, they're taking away marketplace access to certain healthcare plans and then
Hmm.
tripling premiums
Hmm.
for everybody else. So you're telling me now, really, to get healthcare, I gotta play the fucking system under these bigger companies?
Hmm.
As an
Hmm.
independent person, I don't fucking have an employer who gives me a healthcare plan. I'm one of those people that's gonna have to pay thousands of dollars a month to have healthcare access. It's insane.
Yeah, greatest country in the world.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly,
There's no
exactly.
other way. No one's ever done it
Yeah,
differently. There's no other way.
it's a
They're
laughable joke
making
at this
America
point.
great. Haven't you heard?
This is where I like cross cultural studies. I think this is a huge
Mm,
part of
hmm.
getting out of the like horse blanders of our time, the black hole of thinking America is great or thinking that this is the only way. The second you kind of, again, thank God for the internet, right? Like you zoom out a little bit, you see something else, you're like, oh wow, there are other healthcare systems that are provided, right? There are other
Hmm.
systems where women, as you were noting, like the experience of women, and sexuality, like other places provide a year of maternity leave. In
Oh
America,
God.
it's not even required. You're lucky
Hmm.
if you get 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. And like people, the countries that provide maternity leave to like both parents, like what? What?
Yeah, little in a polycule, right? Like
Oh, oh my
really,
God.
what a
Yeah.
dream would that be, right? Like all
Yeah.
four, all three, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm the kind of I'm a person who knows that I won't ever have children of my
Mm.
own,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd be happy to be like auntie and help around and things like that. Like yeah, the whole taking a village thing. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. 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 I'm curious for you getting to that space of that full confidence. Was there ever any backlash from your family or upbringing around that? Some people, have really great
Hmm.
parents who are like, yeah, totally support your freedom. And I think other people really have to push back against family to say, I'm not going to have another child.
Sure, yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, with with regard to children, fortunately, my mother has a little bit of a fear of, growing older. And so I think
Mm,
the prospect of having a grandchild would make her a grandma. And I
mm,
don't think she loves that idea.
mm.
But also I don't it's like she's like even when I was growing up, she's never pushed this idea of like, oh, I can't
Good.
wait to have grandkids and things like
Mm,
that. She's always said like, "Oh, I'm so happy to have you kids and whatnot." But no, she's fortunately she's never pressured me. My dad, on the other hand,
oh, yeah. Okay.
he like
Fascinating. Yeah.
he is a person who I do sincerely believe really loves having children. There are some parents out there who I'm like, why do you even have children? This all feels honestly very selfish. I'll never tell you that because I won't have any backing on this and everyone will jump down my throat for saying that. But there are some parents out there where it's like, damn, your child feels like an ornament.
Yeah.
But my dad is someone who genuinely loves to, be around kids and raise kids. And I think he likes to pass on, wisdom and whatnot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so whenever I go up to visit him, he's always like, because I'm the eldest too,
Mm.
and he's always like, "Oh, when am I gonna have grandkids or something?" Especially
Ah,
when like a cousin of
dad,
mine who
no.
is the same age, like had a little baby in the past year, who's very, very cute. And
Mm.
like he did that passive aggressive thing of like, "Oh, Michelle, you're falling behind." And my cousin,
Yeah.
like, to her credit, she's like, no, no, everyone's got their own timeline too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, totally,
yeah,
totally.
but I mean, dealing with my dad sometimes it's like, sometimes my dad's just gonna say shit and that's just
Mm.
what it is. And he's never gonna be angry at me really or like try to have some very serious talk and try to force me to have children. I'm like, you're gonna have to wait for my other sister to do that because
Yeah,
because
it's
I'm
not
not gonna
me.
do that. Um, but yeah, so it's not I don't feel like huge pressure.
Yeah, good.
ultimately, fortunately, my parents are just like, whatever floats your boat, really. Like
Good.
what with regard to the child thing. Yeah.
That's great. Because some parents will do the whole, well, your life will be
Oh my
meaningless
God.
without that. How, what,
Right?
what?
And I'm like, that's
What?
a hell of a lot of projection there, which reveals a lot about my upbringing. Damn. Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, my mom would
yeah.
say stuff like that. I kept trying to tell her, like, Mom, I'm
Ooh.
becoming a doctor. Stop. Like, I run this podcast. It's got lots of people. Don't worry. I'm doing something else, you know?
Yeah, if this is meaningless, then
Yeah,
what?
exactly,
What?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
I do think about wanting to have a
God.
kid one day, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like a beautiful dream. I'm so, studying like relationships across all types, platonic, familial, sexual, right?
Mm-hmm.
But relationships, human to human connections, the narratives, the meaning making, the attachment, like the idea of having a child is such a beautiful one. I just know that if I do that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm certainly not doing it in a nuclear family.
No. Oh
Certainly
my
not doing that.
God.
Oh, my polycule has to be signed up. Signed
Yeah.
up. That is a
Yeah.
four at minimum conversation. Okay, we're sharing this load,
Uh-huh.
right? Because I'm not doing this by
Mm-hmm.
myself. No.
Mm. No, no, no. That's like I have two cats and that's enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes they kind of drive me up the wall and I'm like, God, thank God y'all are cute.
Exactly, exactly,
Because like
right?
I've done the introspection and I know
Yeah.
that I'm a bit too selfish to,
Mm-hmm.
give uh I'm too selfish and not patient enough to give my
Mm.
children what I would want them to have.
Mm.
Like I'm not nurturing enough in that way. And again, especially if it's not in a village
Mm.
setting.
Yeah, exactly,
Like
right?
if it's just me or just me and one other person, even if just me, one other person and one other person, that's just,
Yeah.
oh, that's wild.
It's not
Yeah. Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. And again, back to the selfishness thing, it just doesn't sound fun to me. I mean, like, yeah, babies are cute and whatnot. And like, yeah, I'm the, a part of it too is that I'm the eldest of technically five, like one full sister,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote full sister, and three, quote unquote half siblings. So I often joke I have like two and a half siblings,
Mm-hmm.
but like I've been through that when there's a 3 year difference between me and my closest sister, and then there's like a 14-year difference and then an 18-year
Mm.
difference.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
as a teenager, I was like little mom. And so
Mm.
I've
Oh, so you've
I've
done
experienced
this.
plenty. Like I was the free
Yeah.
daycare during the summers when school was off for
Really?
me,
Yeah.
so that my parents didn't have to pay for daycare. So like, yeah,
Sure.
I'd be like, whenever parents left for work, they would drop the little, my sisters off in my room. And then I
Yeah,
would like do
wow.
breakfast and lunch and,
Mm.
enrichment and watch TV or
Mm-hmm.
go to the park, changing diapers. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I've,
You've
I've
done your
done
time.
enough of it where it's like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just some person who's
Mm-hmm.
never been around a child. Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
helped raise my little sisters.
Yeah.
So I know
Yeah.
it's not for me, but
Yes.
I'd be a great aunt.
Right.
I'm big sister slash aunt
Yes.
material. That's what I was
Yes.
built
Bring
for.
over some of the cute little socks, take a cute
Oh,
picture, you
hell
know what I
yeah,
mean? Maybe
instill
change
little,
one diaper.
sprinkle little
Yeah,
radical
exactly.
ideas here and there.
Here's the home cooked meal. Good luck. Have
Right.
fun.
Yeah, yeah. Call me if you ever are wanting to
Yeah.
do anything stupid.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
come
yeah.
over and either try to talk you out of it or supervise,
Exactly,
like
exactly. Yeah, totally.
you don't want to
Totally.
tell like our parents about it, like, all right, call me. Like
Right.
that's my role.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. And there's another narrative too of it, which I think is like community-based care, right? When we think about it from a
Mm-hmm.
climate change perspective and the amount of bodies
Mm.
we already have on this planet and the resources that we in this current lifestyle are using,
Mm-hmm.
not always, but like
Mm-hmm.
in this current lifestyle. So there, I feel like there's also like a selfless like narrative of spinning of like I am choosing to not have kids because I really want to be conscious of the earth and the
Mm-hmm.
resources and also the other children that are already being born. Like I want to hold space for
Mm-hmm.
them, like I do think there's
Yeah.
that narrative too.
There is, and like certain days I'll think of that, but on the other hand, it's like, God, that pales in comparison to what like Coca-Cola is doing or
Oh,
Google
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
doing.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it
Yeah.
really, like another child is a drop in the bucket with regard to climate change
Yeah, that's what my
compared to
partners say.
what
Yeah.
corporations are doing and
I know.
poisoning the planet just for slightly bigger profit margins or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
curious what my microplastic levels are, you
Oh
know?
God, yeah, we're all just a little bit plastic. The whole old George Carlin bit where it's like, maybe the point of humans was to just provide plastic for the earth, and it's just the earth plus plastic.
No, 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 no,
Oof.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'll learn how we'll have to adapt, whether it's thousands of years after human, but the Earth will have to
Yeah.
adapt how to break that shit down, like some way,
Yeah.
somehow,
Yeah.
probably long after us.
I feel like I've heard about little bacteria or
That's what I was
microbes or
wondering. Yeah, that's what I was.
something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know those exist. Not on the scale in which it's like super, super helpful right now, but the Earth is already adapting. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a
Mm-hmm.
part of my lens from the clinical psychology that I think is so essential, right? When we have these different diagnoses. I mean, well, first off, I think being depressed right now is a pretty reasonable response when you look at the
Oh
world and
yeah.
America. So let's first start there,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we start with that premise, it's big house of cards to really undo. But even things like, yeah, like postpartum depression, right? Stuff like that. It's
Mm,
like we put so much on the individual, like, like they're broken, she's broken, like,
mm,
like not looking at the wider world and the context. And I really do think it's a reflection of that hyper individualistic focus. Because again, the field of psychology is what, like 200 years old from white
mm.
people. And, it's like very, like, it's one lens. And there's been more like perspectives on the human psyche and spiritual traditions that has extended way before psychology. But we get the psych lens, right? It's like one person, you're broken, you need this drug, here we go. And it like
Mhm.
often doesn't take that systems lens. There's a book, I haven't read it yet, but I listened to Upstream. Do you ever listen to that podcast?
No,
I do love
no.
Upstream. They make great content
Okay.
on like economics,
Okay.
from lots of different like leftist perspectives. And there was one called, I think it's Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism, I think is what it's called. It's a book title.
Mm.
Forgive me for the
Okay.
wrong there. But part of the thought is essentially like that, right? Like when you're better paid for your labor, when you have extended, maternal leave, all these things, like you are having better sex in a society that
Hmm.
takes more care of you, right? This is an essential part of the whole equation.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. If you're not stressed out by work and like all these I think all these governments that are freaked out about like, oh my God, the dropping birth rates and stuff like that. And like in the United States, there's definitely a tinge of like the replacement theory and like white
Mm.
supremacy behind that
Oh
too.
yeah, for sure.
But it's like, well, if you want people to like have sex more and have like babies more, why don't you, right, we need better healthcare. We need people to actually have the time and energy to have sex and have babies. And all these different things that the government can provide, and it's not like it's just some pipe dream. It's not like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we just don't have the money. It's like, God, we
Mm.
have so much money. We're the
Mm. Oh yeah.
most well-resourced country in the world, probably in the history of the world so far.
Mm.
Like, but we can't provide a bit of maternity leave or increased health care and this and that. Yeah, if you want more babies, there are ways to facilitate having more babies. It's yeah. Not that I'm like, super pro that, but
Right.
just I don't know, all the dissonance and all of the hypocrisy and honestly all the stupidity of it just drives me up the wall.
Right. Well, because
Mhm.
Michelle, you're supposed to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Come on.
Right,
Why,
the
why, just
bootstraps, I
stand up. Just
forgot.
stand up.
God, I switched to slip-on shoes. Oh no.
Oh
What am I supposed to do?
no. Wild, right? Like it's wild how deep
Yeah.
that psyche goes. I will like, so I think you remember I came from purity culture, right? In this like whole like
Mm, mm,
conservative background with my family. So it's always fascinating. Family votes for Trump both times, sort of family energy.
mm,
Yeah. And so I remember talking to my sister who she had a preemie baby. It was a like
mm,
7 months, small little thing, emergency C-section, horrific experience. And so part of her time in the hospital with the baby was pretty extensive medical bills. And so I
mm,
remember that year talking to her, during the holidays and asking like, how is that? She's like, it's horrific. Like it's so expensive. It's so intense to have a baby. Like, me and my husband are working and I'm a nurse. He has a very basic job and it's like really hard to afford these medical bills for the baby. And I said, well, I know when the next president who offers universal health care, who you're going to be voting for. And you want to know what her response was? She was like, Well, no, I don't think we need that. I think I just need a better job.
Oh no. God, the
Exactly, right?
propaganda is so
Yes.
deep. Just the talent's so deep.
Yes.
Oh, that's so like when I hear that, like, yes, I feel a little angry, but like I mostly feel sad.
Sad, sad,
Oh,
sad. Because that's a lack of awareness, like that's a pure
yeah.
lack of awareness and whatever the hell
Mhm.
message around universal healthcare. Like, what is the image you have that that's going to bring for you? Like, do you see loss in that? Like, if we funnel money here, is there loss? And yet we know, like, when we better source in our community and put resources in it, we see less crime, we see less all this other
Mhm.
stuff, right? And
Mhm.
so it's like,
Yeah.
it is heartbreaking. I think that's the right response, which can be much harder to tap into when you see quote unquote the other side and what they're doing, right? Like
Mhm.
there's also very valid responses of anger and frustration and judgment and all of that too. And then when it's, my sister sitting there saying that, you're like, fuck, you just don't
Mhm.
see what is possible in all their other worlds.
Yeah, yeah. And again, just how deep the propaganda goes of this like hyper individualism of like, yeah, you only fail because you failed. It doesn't matter what environmental factors there are, it doesn't matter what the variables there are. It's all you. I didn't have it super deep. There was definitely elements of that
Mm-hmm.
in there, in my upbringing for
Yeah.
sure. And I still definitely have remnants of that. But yeah, just how again, just how deep those claws have sunk into to people. And God, especially like, as we're talking where it's like the whole government shutdown and
Yeah.
then like turning off SNAP benefits and
Yeah.
things like that. And people like also the propaganda against like poverty, because it's all
Mm.
connected to like this idea that, oh, if you're impoverished, it's all your fault, or you deserved it, or you just need to, do X, Y, and Z and be better. You just need to, God, you just need to walk
Yeah.
into a shop with your resume and then you'll get employed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
grandma. Yeah.
so out of touch. So out of touch, often so violently hateful.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just this this tonic of hyper individualism that we've been fed since we were little. eh, God, it's a menace. It's so
Right.
insidious. It's a menace. And yeah, oftentimes it makes me angry, but more often it just makes me really sad that it's
Yeah.
so pervasive.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like especially,
Yeah.
especially with like the SNAP benefits, I think a lot of it is like this idea. I think this idea where it's like if someone doesn't deserve it,
Mm.
this whole deserving thing, right? Like whether or not you deserve it.
Mm.
And there's all that discourse around like, oh, we need to go back to basics with like food stamps. Like you can only get like bread and milk and stuff, and you can't, God forbid, you buy like a cookie, or like a little Debbie or something like that. Like it should only just be for sustenance,
Mm.
not for joy.
Mm.
And yeah, I think we've been taught that this whole zero sum thing where it's like if someone's getting something, that means something's being taken away from us,
Right.
right? So if someone is getting something that they don't deserve, quote unquote don't deserve, that means we're also getting something that
Mm.
we're also not getting something that we do deserve. And so I
Mm.
think that is just inextricably tied together to all this and all this thinking and all that propaganda. And God, yeah, if we were to loosen that grip and if we were to see like the actual people, stealing from us and like, how things like wage theft is
Yep.
the most prominent form of theft and stuff instead of that person trying to get like baby formula from Walmart. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like, ah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I know. I saw
probably rant
some.
for days.
No, that's good. We need that conversation. And I was scrolling last night in the doom scrolling, and I did see
Mhm.
some art that was like, if you see someone stealing from a major corporation, no, you didn't, right? Like
Yeah,
for
no, you
like,
didn't.
yeah, exactly. And I loved one
Hmm.
comment someone had, which was like, I have these really intense eye issues where I just can't see when people steal for basic necessities. I really clearly can see when people steal for jewelry, which is kind of hitting on some of the things, but like we're right pleasures, but like
Uh-huh.
jewelry and these other things, but food and the basics, diapers, like I just there's something so difficult. I've tried fixing my glasses, but I just can't see it, like
Yeah, I should maybe go visit the
my
optometrist, but
jazz.
that's expensive, so I'm
Exactly.
not going to. It's not really a
Yeah,
problem.
let's put it back onto the system. Sorry, it's just too expensive to fix my glasses. I didn't see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
vision
so
isn't
real.
included, so
Exactly. It's
yeah.
not. That's an
Yes.
additional dental vision. Fuck that. That is my
Hmm.
non-American listeners are like, what are they talking about?
What?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
Exactly.
horrors.
Truly, it's an extra premium and it really doesn't cover much. That's kind of the hard.
God, yeah. Like I've had, like, fortunately, my vision has
Yeah,
not changed very much, like
yeah,
hopefully.
yeah.
But like, yeah, I've had these glasses since 2000. I think I got these in
Totally.
2017 or 18.
Or like even the basics of like
Yeah.
getting your wisdom teeth removed and they won't pay for
Oh
sedation. They don't pay for
God.
sedation. That's like an additional
Yeah.
like what year is it? What
It's a horror
yeah,
movie.
well like what
Yeah.
what
Mm-hmm.
year is it that you actually got to pull that out by themselves? We really can't use something. We can't find
Mm.
some way to subsidize a little bit of that. No?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that conversation around the SNAP benefits and feeling of loss, it's like it's so wild because that same conversation I want to come in and say, how do you feel about 49% of the global wealth being owned by the 1%? Like how does that one feel? It's like, what? What?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, and again though, it's like the propaganda where it's like, oh, they deserved it. They worked hard. Just yeah, this romanticizing of billionaires and these leaders of industry. It's like, oh, they worked hard. And yeah, sure, maybe some of them worked hard a bit,
Yeah.
but like, do they really deserve? I can't remember what the ratio is, like, 1,000, 10,000 times the wage of like the lowest paid worker, like a person who like all these people who are essential to making this business run, right? Where it's like, sure, you have this one guy who had a good idea, but like without, people contributing their labor, what's the use of a good idea?
Mm.
Um, so yeah.
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 Make the money and funnel it back into the community, right? Like if that's really what you're doing,
Right?
like why don't we funnel it back into the community and take care of one
Mm-hmm.
another and make a better like what is that, right? Rather than hoarding it for
Mm-hmm.
selfish
Yeah. It'll trickle
exploration.
down. It'll trickle down anytime now.
Exactly. Anytime. It's like I see this image of like dead bones. Like anytime now,
Anytime.
like
Anytime. Yeah.
literally. I did like
Mm-hmm.
in my grad school training, there was one class where we were talking about this and the metaphor that they used was like a track race and
Mm.
how your privilege puts you at different starting points. And so,
Mm-hmm.
sure, yeah, that rich person, maybe they were started like 3/4 of the head of the race, and before this, you're at the start line, they're 3/4 around the track. And so, yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
did run. Like, let's not discredit their 1/4 of the race they had to run, but they
Mm-hmm.
started at a pretty significantly different starting point, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
that in itself is like, I think hopefully helps people to have a better metaphor where it's like, yeah, it's not that they didn't do work, but they started at such a different space that it's not even a race. Like, this is not a fair experience, especially when you think about the years of oppression and the different intersecting identities and how that creates access to privilege and generational wealth. And I was listening to another podcast, I can't remember what it was, but it was getting into all of this, and one of the arguments that people have for rich people is like, oh, they took so much risk, look at how much risk they took, look at how much risk they took. And I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciated the guest who was saying they really don't take that much risk because they actually have so much capital that they can like gamble with. The people who are showing up every day for jobs that pay for them to be able to live that day, they're actually risking a fuck ton because if they don't perform well that day at work, they could absolutely lose their job that day. And so every day is a gamble for them in a way that the rich is like, oh yeah, millions of dollars, but like they have a fund. Like, so we
Mm-hmm.
look at the number and it's like, oh, it's a million. They've, well, okay, well then they made 1 billion. Well, they risked 1 million. Okay. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's really not looking at the actual contextual position that those people are in and like seeing how like when you don't have the stability every day you're risking that.
Yeah, I mean, right. How many of us are just how many paychecks away from like potentially being homeless, not being able to afford rent and whatnot? Yeah. But no, it's poor people. That's the problem. It's poor people. That's all. Don't
Yeah.
look at the billionaires behind the curtain, you know. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just making us squabble amongst ourselves when we could be working together and being like, "Hey, actually, we're comrades, we're friends. Uh,
Hmm.
it actually sucks for both of us, and it could be better for
Hmm.
both of us if we were to direct our ire in the correct places."
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, exactly. I saw another art piece. It was this like big fish, right? Suggestive of the systems. And then it was eating all these tiny little fish and they were trying to run away. And then it
Mm-hmm.
said in the art piece, don't panic, organize. And then it was
Organize,
all the tiny
yeah.
fish chasing the big fish. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
fuck yeah. That was something that, like,
Yeah.
I'm having one of those cry days where I'm just like, fucking, this is, oh
Yeah.
my God. And then you see that and you're like, you're right. You're right. I put it on my
Right.
photo frame. I have like a photo frame that goes through and I see it every time. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
right, organize, organize, organize. And that's the only way we're going to get out of this because we don't have the resources to combat them at that level of scale. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, like even in like the Portland area,
Mm,
when SNAP benefits, fortunately, like as of today, as we're talking, they were restored here in Oregon, fully. But so many people came together, like so many individuals, so many like businesses, so many
yeah.
orgs came together and like, hey, all right, we're gonna
Yeah.
do as much as we can to feed people. Here are
Mm-hmm.
like a bunch of resources.
Yeah.
Here are ways to help. Here are ways to, either donate money or
Mm-hmm.
other resources or whatever logistics that we need. Or like,
Yeah.
hey, we need like volunteer cooks or volunteer delivery drivers. And like a lot of people really stepped up. And that
Good.
was like a thing where it's like, okay, this more of this.
Gives you
Like,
hope.
yes, they reinstated SNAP, but like this shouldn't stop. Like we
Mm-hmm.
can, God, it's it doesn't fix everything, but like how powerful we can be when we do pool what resources we have together, and and organize and actually use social media for good for once, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. A little bit of hope and optimism there. And like you said, like how many people are one paycheck away from not being able to pay for things? I mean, I think another big piece of that is the medical, like healthcare system. I
Mm,
like it's
mm-hmm,
insane.
mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Yeah. And how many people put off going to the hospital because they know that the bill is going to be high, which worsens their health conditions, which makes it the bill like extremely high when they have to go to the hospital because it's become life-threatening or
Totally.
something.
Yeah.
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 I feel like people our age always joke, don't call the ambulance, call the Uber.
Oh,
Like, don't,
Uber. Oh, right?
like if I can,
Yeah.
don't call the the Uber unless
Mm-hmm.
you really think I'm not breathing and dying immediately. It is an Uber, which is
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
what? Like
Yeah, I had
what?
yeah, I had a
What?
roommate where he had diabetes and
Ah,
didn't realize how like dire it could get.
ah,
And there was one time where he was having where his what is it, where his blood sugar was
glucose. Yeah,
super
yeah,
low.
yeah.
Yeah. And so he was like in pain,
Oh
and
no.
my other roommate and I were like, oh my God, like I don't think either of us had seen this before.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like we
yeah.
called the ambulance and stuff, and they helped get his blood sugar back and whatnot. But yeah, when he was like conscious and was able to talk later, he's like, thank you guys, next time, try getting me some orange juice or something first, or whatnot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe like a peanut butter sandwich
Gosh.
and stuff where it's like, I mean, and yeah, the next time it did happen, I was able to do that.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
But I'm like, damn. And I also know, yeah, it's just this the state of things, the state of healthcare is just fucking atrocious. Yeah,
Oh
something really
yeah.
has got to give.
Totally, totally. I've been trying to heal from BV, which has been quite
Oh, yeah.
a journey. And every
Ugh.
like vagina owning friend that I have is like, "Oh, I've been there. I've been there." And
Hmm.
I'm like, This is insane. This is insane.
Hmm.
2 rounds of antibiotics and it still doesn't go. What is this? This is
What
wild."
is going
Oh
on?
my God. I went to the urgent care and the bill came out to be like $750 for
Oh.
a 15-minute assessment. Like I swear to God, a 15-minute assessment with a PA, 15 minutes.
Hmm.
And they're like, you want to do a self swab or we'll do the exam? And I was like, I mean, I'll do a self swab, probably cheaper, right? So I literally 15 minutes self swabbed myself, put it in the
Mm.
tube and sent it off for a
Hmm.
very basic like BV test and yeast. $750 just to find out.
God.
And insurance covered
And
about
you
like,
still have the problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
$750 just to still have the issue.
totally,
Uh,
totally.
yeah.
And the wild part too is like, I mean, thank God for Instagram content creators. I really got to reach out to the one that I saw on there. She God, I can't remember who it was, but I can see her face. I don't remember the handle, you know.
Mm,
She had just come out of an appointment with her doctor where she was like, "You guys, I've been struggling with BV. This has been horrible. And I'm just learning research now that apparently my doctor was saying that people with penises also need to be treated."
mm,
And that's
yeah.
completely new information. And that if you have reoccurring BV and it keeps coming back, part of the problem might be that the person you're sleeping with, not, and you can also get it from just, you can get BV from taking a bath and the
Mm.
pH being messed up. Unfortunately, I'm a bath lover, so that I haven't taken any baths recently, but it might be part of the problem.
Oh.
But like, yeah, the person with a penis also needs to get treated. And so I saw that
Mm.
video and I was like, looking at my partner, I was like, I think we need to go check this out. So I go to the doctors and they're like, yeah, the research is coming out. We've heard of it. We don't really know what the next protocol is. So like have your partner figure that out and like get the drugs. And so we were like, what doctor do we go to that even knows about this?
Hmm.
You know, and it was
And that's so
yeah.
wild that again, where it's just like all of this information that comes out so recently, where it's like, we should have known this the whole time, actually. And if we were to think about it for more than 2 seconds, yeah, actually, it probably doesn't just originate in the vagina. If we're having like penis and vagina sex, like
Yeah.
maybe the penis could be a variable in this too. I guess.
What? What?
Like,
What? Like, how slow are we? I mean, just as
oh,
slow to create like birth control for penises, right? Like that,
oh
just as slow as
God.
that, right? Like God
Yeah.
forbid, you know. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, our
Mm-hmm.
penis could not be the problem. The science directors, no,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Mm-hmm.
It was so funny that week too
Yeah.
that I was doing that. I get supervision from Jessica Fern for like my polyamorous cases, which has been
Mm.
so joyous. And also we were talking about like sexual health and stuff. And she's like, "Have you heard the new research about BV?" I was like, "Oh, Jessica."
Oh, have you heard the good news?
And I was like, "I've heard, and I am figuring it out. I'm figuring it out because nothing has been inside me in a month, and it is."
Oh, oh
Oh my
God.
God.
Yeah.
I say that because, you know, you're talking about sex under fascism. Like, I am scared to go back to the doctor to know what it's going to cost me to find out if the
Mm-hmm.
medication this round worked. And that's a
Yeah.
huge piece of this is like, look at this
Yeah.
system where as you're pointing to, there's no information or critical thought around how maybe the penis could also be a fucking carrier of this sort of stuff or causer of this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
here I am trying to get healthcare and it's costing this amount of money. And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
genuinely scared to go back to find out again, which produces more stress, which contributes to
Yeah.
like, that's sex under fascism. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm God. Like just to get treated or even just like STI testing. STI testing isn't accessible everywhere. Like
Yeah.
I'm fortunate, like in Portland, there's Pivot at like Prism Health
Mm-hmm.
offers like free STI screenings
Good.
like HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, like primarily for the queer community, but like that you go in there, they're not gonna like interrogate you about that.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't even need insurance and stuff. And but yeah, that's not available everywhere, and
Yeah.
even the Multnomah County STI screening, I think is still like $50,
Yeah.
which is like a lot more accessible than alternatives, but still
Totally.
$50 to get tested, regularly. That can be a lot. So
Right.
yeah, it makes having more like safer sex just so much harder. And so
Totally.
I don't I understand when people, are going through their celibacy stage right
Oh
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Nothing's got inside me. You know, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
and like yeast and BV aren't even STIs, so those aren't even on
No,
panels. And like
no.
some STIs aren't even on panels too, like HSV1, like usually not on a panel,
Yeah.
HSV2 is not on a panel, right? So it's
Hmm.
like, damn, it's hard to be an ethical slut out here. Like it's
It
it's
is
it's tough.
good. Oh, to
Yeah.
be a slut, it's
Yeah.
so hard. Woe is me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. Yeah, the
yeah.
pleasure. But I'm curious for you, like how do you work through like how do you work through all that stuff in your polyamorous groups? It's something that my network is still figuring out over here. I'm
Mhm.
curious, any insight, perspective?
Yeah. Yeah, I think by now, earlier talking about how it's like pretty stable. Everyone that I have sex with has like regular testing. It,
Yeah.
it comes to the point where like I don't even it doesn't even come up because I just know that
Mm.
they regularly get tested.
Mm-hmm.
And like on Instagram, even though I don't post a lot anymore, every 3 months I still do post about like, oh hey, got my STI tests,
Yeah.
just trying to normalize it a little bit. And
Yeah,
also
that's
there's some
good.
people
That's
who are
good.
like, oh, actually, whenever you post, it's the reminder for me to
Good. Good. We love that. We love that. We love that.
yeah, yeah, where it's like, all right, we're like on the same testing schedule.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but but yeah, so I think, by this point I've, am regularly having sex with people who, are pretty on top of it. So I don't feel like I have to worry about it
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah, that's good.
With new partners, like a new person that I'm seeing, we've been on a few dates with, like just on of his own accord. He was like, "Oh yeah, I got tested," and just he screenshotted me his test results and stuff like
Right.
that. And so yeah, I think a lot of it is like picking people who where it's already pretty normalized. I think is very helpful. Picking people who like you know if they're willing, if they have questions, but they're willing, that's fine. But people who are like, oh, I don't know about that, it's like, I just don't. That's
Oh,
that's
yeah, that's
already
not.
that's
Yeah.
nothing. That's nothing
Nope.
lighter than a yellow flag to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's the
So
easy lane of that because other
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that's just how it is in my cool right now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so similar, right? Yes, 3 months, similar. What about the people that our partners are fucking? Like,
Hmm.
I just get overwhelmed by the variables of variables of variables, where it's
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
my heart breaks that oral sex, we don't have enough research to know what transmission rates look like. And
Mm.
part of that isn't necessarily even a lack of funding, but my understanding of it is a lack of ability to isolate the variable. There's very few people who only have oral sex, and so we have like less testing pools to really track that. Most people are exploring lots of different types, and so
Hmm.
it's really hard to get just like, could you imagine research study clinical data? It's like must have only had oral sex in the last 6 months. Like I don't know
Oh
what group
God.
that is, like
And how
it's
can you
probably
even remember sometimes? I just like
it's probably like a purity culture, like like the people who are like, well, it's not real sex, so we do this, we don't
hmm
do any kind of, like that was me in the back,
hmm
so I would have been actually a great
mm
test candidate for that.
hmm Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like we just don't know. So like my partners that like, one of my partners has a penis, we use condoms, so there's a lot of protection there. But any of the oral capacities, right? Like you can
Hmm.
get STIs through the mouth, right? And it can live
Hmm.
in the mouth. And so it's like, gosh, like sure, he's having protected sex with this person, but they're doing oral, right? At what point do you say like, I keep trying to think about making a flow chart or something of like, like I just want some worksheet to
Hmm.
like for my like anxious brain to put it into like if you get new partner and they have this type of like, do we
Hmm.
just take a deep breath and like breathe through that risk or like I just
I mean, I think like we can do the best that we can with
yeah.
safer sex practices, but I think my the way I approach it is like if I have sex and I have a lot of sex with people who have a lot of sex with other people,
Mm-hmm.
it might happen. And like
Yeah.
I think I've had chlamydia twice, gonorrhea
Yeah.
once, and like those are annoying.
But
And like
fixable. Yeah.
but yeah, just like a week and a half of antibiotics, again, annoying, but not the end of the world. And there is a concern of like the super gonorrhea and stuff like that,
Mm,
and these STIs that are becoming more resistant to antibiotics, which is concerning. But again, we do what we can.
yeah.
We communicate more.
Yeah.
We make sure that we have partners who are, good about communicating that and who are good about vetting their partners. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's no 100, like, I mean,
Yeah.
the only 100% way to avoid any of this is to just not have
Yeah,
sex at all.
totally.
But like, so yeah, my thing is like it might happen. And fortunately, I
Yeah.
think the kind of sex that I have and the kind of sex that most of my partners have, like it's not as high risk for things like HIV or
Mm-hmm.
syphilis, which again, it isn't like a 0% thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if I just have to look out for chlamydia and gonorrhea, it's like again, not ideal, not the
Cool.
best thing,
Yeah.
but it's treatable. It's
Yeah.
treatable.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world. And if something like that happens, then it's like, oh, well, let partners know. And like the first time that happened when I got chlamydia,
Mm.
it felt embarrassing where it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I got chlamydia and I have to tell people. So the 3 times that
Yeah.
I've gotten STI though, I've always been the one to like
Mm.
notify people, which
Yeah.
like pisses me off a little bit because I'm like, there's someone out
Who
there
gave it to me that doesn't
who
even
gave it to
know
me,
or
who
knows and
either
didn't.
doesn't know, right? Exactly, who either
Yeah.
doesn't know or like knew and like is not doing their due diligence. And
Gosh.
so, fortunately, I feel like I'm in a spot where I've weeded those people out
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah, I haven't had one in like maybe like 3 years, I think was the last time I had either chlamydia or gonorrhea.
Mm.
But yeah, just knowing that having a lot of sex, it happens. It's not the end of the
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate you normalizing that. I know there's so many
Yeah.
people who would be terrified to
hmm
share that with their partners.
Yeah. Yeah. But like after the first time, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's like people appreciate knowing too.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And I never say this to be like, oh, STIs, you don't have to worry about them at all. It's like,
Right, of
yes,
course.
that's why you get tested and that's why you have a regular, process and good communication about it and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. It is important. It absolutely is
Oh
important.
yeah.
But it's not the end of the world that we're taught like God in our terrible sex ed in like middle school and high school and whatnot, where it's like the whole Mean Girls thing was like, if you have sex, you will die. Like it's not that. It's not that.
Yeah, yeah. And even with HIV now, with PrEP, there's so
Prep.
much, and
Yeah.
antivirals, even if you do have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The quality of life
Mm-hmm.
has gotten so much better in the last even like 100
Mm-hmm.
years. It's huge
Yeah, it's no longer a death
developments.
sentence. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely. And so I think that's so important to talk about because again, it's a part of the like purity culture, like purity, like, oh, I'm pure. I got my
I'm
test backs and I'm
clean.
clean.
Yeah. Clean. Ooh, insidious language. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And I feel like it rolls off the tongue because it's so much of the culture. Like, oh, I got my STI test, I'm clean, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what is the opposite?
Right. Oh, you dirty, dirty
Dirty.
STI
Yeah,
ridden
yeah.
slut. You heathen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And we get other viruses, other infections all the time in
Mm-hmm.
other areas of our lives. And we don't
Yeah.
have the same sort of, there's just there's so much emotional weight around sexuality. There's so much emotional weight around the genitals, especially. And like,
Mm-hmm.
people really like, what does it mean that I'm this person that had this sort of experience? That you're human in a world full of germs. Like, what a concept,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what a concept.
Yeah. Like, yeah, if you get a cold or the flu, is that a moral failing or something? Like, I know some people like to twist it where it's like, it was your choice to bump genitals with that person. And so that's what you got and that's what you deserve. And it's like, it's
Gosh,
just they're germs. It happens. Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
gosh, gosh. Yeah, you shook hands with that person. You got a cold. You deserve that fucking cold, you
You
dirt. Like,
dirty handshaking
yeah,
heathen.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's like, do you see how your logic doesn't apply across all paradigms,
Right.
sir? Like,
You dared to
no.
touch another person?
Totally.
Disgusting. hmm
I'm curious for you, Michelle. What is the biggest pleasure liberation insight that you've unlocked across all these years for yourself? If you were to like sit and be with
hmm
that, what's the thing you've unlocked that you wish you could tell your younger self who's just starting the journey?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is especially growing up. And it still exists in my brain today of
Oh
like seeking
yeah.
validation from people, of like the people who will want to be around you will be around you. And the people who don't want to be around you will go away. And you might be sad about it, but it's like, oh, if they don't want to be around me, then why would I want them? Like
Mm-hmm.
if they thought I was a little too weird or a little too awkward or a little too fat or a little too this or that, like, well, then why would I want them? And it definitely helps to have that perspective now where like I have like a nice polycule where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, these people like me. And if I'm like having a day where I'm like feeling sorry for myself or something, it's like, oh, I have people who will like more than happy to fuck me at any time. Like, and not that it's all about sex,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
just like
I
me
like
people who are
sex
more
though.
than happy to
Yeah.
like, yeah, like cuddle or have movie nights or talk or, help or
Yeah.
this and that. So, it helps to have that evidence now versus when I was like an awkward, insecure teenager. I'm still an awkward and insecure adult, but slightly less
Mm.
so,
Yeah.
and surrounded by like really nice, cool people who like to
Yeah.
cook for me or like, do things for me or do things with me. And yeah, so I think that's the thing where it's just like, God, just chasing the validation of people who just couldn't give
Mm.
less of a shit about you. Like,
Mm.
it's something as someone who like is still on the more avoidant side, if we're talking about like attachment theory,
Sure.
sometimes I see, because it's villainized so much online. But sometimes I'm like, you know, is it avoidance or are they just not that into
Yeah.
you? Like,
Yeah.
are you trying to force these like villainous avoidant people to love you? Or are you just trying to force someone who's just not that into you to be more into you? And
Mm,
like, yes, there are liars out there and there are manipulators out there and stuff like that, but that's not exclusive to avoidance. There
yeah.
are assholes everywhere.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you need to read the signs that someone's not into you enough. And you need to be like, you know what? I deserve more and I deserve
Yeah.
better. And like, the person may or may not be a villain. The person may just be like like a person who needs to work through some shit and I don't need to deal with that shit. So I'm going to pick someone else. Yeah. Anyway, that was like a mini rant from
No,
that. But
no, it's
but
so
anyway,
good.
seeking validation where we don't have to seek validation. Like I know there
Yeah.
are certain environments and certain ways in which, people do that for survival. And I can't fully knock that and stuff like that. So like yeah, but under better conditions, like yeah, if you don't have to seek validation from that person
Mm-hmm.
who's not, giving you the care and
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you need, then there are other people.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many other people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm curious too if your work with content creation has played into that because it has a lot for me, right? Which is,
Hmm.
wow, I'm really putting myself out here. I just talked about all the things we talked about in this. Wow. And it's like,
Hmm.
well, if people don't like it, they can leave. Like the people who do like it stay, and that's how this works. I'm just gonna keep going,
Yeah.
right? Like it almost like really makes
Hmm.
you confront that every day when you're looking at the numbers, going like, well, why did that
Hmm.
one go down and this one went up? And you could lose your mind
Oh yeah,
in the
that's another
numbers.
reason where it's like I'm honestly too sensitive of a person to be
I
like
feel that.
that big of a content creator. I'm like I'm too sensitive. I honestly, yeah, I can
Yeah.
try to, build a thicker skin, liberally use the block button and like, also sometimes people leave comments that are just like so ridiculous that I
Yes.
can't even be offended by it, where it's like just die
And
or
yeah.
you should have been aborted and I'm like, where the what? What the heck is this? Um so yeah, like developing those boundaries has definitely been helpful, but at the same time, yeah, I'm way too soft
Yeah,
for
I hear
like the
you
mega like there's some like online acquaintances where like they get so much,
so
of course,
much.
unnecessary hate and I'm like, "Oh my God, yeah, I can't do this." Like you would need um so much stronger boundaries around
Ah,
this and so much a stronger sense of self
yeah, yeah,
than
yeah.
honestly than that I have at this time in my life.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, and that's also why like in the past couple years I've posted more to just stories than the feed
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
your followers that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
see your stories.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm talking to more of the people who like more
Good.
actively want to
Be
read my
there.
stuff.
Yeah.
Because yeah, sometimes you post things on the feed and then you have people who are like, you don't even follow me. Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
what are you
How'd
like?
you get here? How'd
How'd you
you...
get here?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
commenting on this. Do you know how algorithms work? You comment on this, you're gonna
Now
see
you're
more
gonna get
shit
more.
like
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
Like like, thanks for boosting the post, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. Maybe I'll keep your comment up. If it's too egregious, I'll fucking delete it and block
I
it. Like whatever.
know. I hear you. I
Um,
hear
but
you.
yeah.
I
Uh,
hear you on that. The one star review I'll get on the podcast, I'm like, no. Like, it's like, what?
oh, yeah. Like what did I
Luckily,
do wrong? What could I do
exactly,
better?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You can't
Hmm.
think like that, especially when like all the reviews are like five star, one. You're like, well,
What is this one person?
yeah, exactly,
What is
exactly,
this one
exactly.
flaw
I am a
that like
whore.
I will have to hyper focus on? Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, maybe I
One
am just a
star.
dirty whore with nothing to offer. Oh my God, they're right.
Totally,
Spiral,
totally,
spiral,
totally,
spiral.
exactly, exactly.
But yeah, the validation thing, like
Yeah,
as
very
social
human.
animals, like
Yep,
we were meant to,
yep.
yes, get validation to a degree, but
Hmm.
from thousands and thousands of strangers, no,
No,
no.
no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as you've spoken to thousands of strangers today, like, luckily,
Mm-hmm.
podcasts still don't have a lot of comments. Some platforms are introducing that, so
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
oof,
will change in the
yeah, yeah,
future,
yeah.
but I'm curious as we come towards the end of our time if there's anything else that you're wanting to share with all those thousands of people who are tuning in.
Mm-hmm. Oh God. I mean, I feel like we could talk forever,
I
but
know, yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of like a through line that we kind of touched on is like focusing like the hyper individualism aspect
Yeah.
versus, focusing on systems. It's just like, I still do this too, where it's like I focus too much on individuals and like, oh God,
Mm,
this individual did that and that and that, and then
mm,
making the broad
mm.
blanket assumptions and
Yeah.
generalizations. But it's like, you know what? This person is doing this thing, and like, yes, they have responsibility for that, but like, damn, look at the environment. Look at
Mm-hmm.
the propaganda that we're fed. Look at, um, you know, like living in a still largely cishet mononormative society,
Yep.
in the United States, definitely still strongly white supremacist
Yep.
undertones everywhere, in almost all aspects of industry in our lives.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no wonder people act certain ways. No wonder people act out in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, the more that we can recognize these systems that have like their boots on our necks,
Mm-hmm.
the more we can actually like target the boots
Yeah.
rather than the people around us who also have boots on their necks.
Right.
And like
Exactly.
we're just flailing around on the ground at each other when we're like, oh, we
Mm-hmm.
should be punching up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
We organize.
Organize. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I'm really grateful that you organized with me today.
Yeah.
Mm.
Again, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great talking to you again.
I
All this
know.
juicy stuff.
I
Yeah.
know. I know.
We went places.
We did. We did. And we still have one more place to go. So I'll take that final deep breath with you. And the last question that I ask everyone on the show is, what is one thing that you wish other people knew was more normal?
Hmm. One thing that I wish other people knew was more normal was I'm pretty sure I said this last time, so I'm not gonna repeat it.
I
I
love it.
think I said that everyone is like weirder than you think. I'm pretty sure I said
Yeah.
that last time,
Yeah.
but that like just to fucking love sex is so
Mm,
normal.
mm.
Like I think there's a lot of narratives around like porn addiction or sex addiction, but it's like God forbid a girl loves to just
Oh,
like
yeah.
experience great release through her genitals or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
like it's okay to love
Oh,
sex. You're
yeah.
not a bad person for it as long as you're still paying your bills and keeping up with your obligations and relationships and stuff like that. Like go full hog. Go,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Enjoy yourself. Enjoy
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, as a hedonist, it's just like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, yes, there's the little things like we talked about, like STIs and stuff like that. But yeah, you do things more responsibly. Like
Yeah.
anything, like you do any hobby, sometimes, especially outdoors or whatever, you
Oh,
take
yeah.
precautions. You wear your knee
Yeah.
pads and helmets, and
Yep.
you still get hurt sometimes. But does
Yep.
that stop you from doing it? Not necessarily. Like,
Yeah.
so just yeah,
Yeah.
seize the moment and, have sex. Have safer sex, but
Absolutely.
have the sex
Yeah.
of good
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah. We don't have
Hmm.
moral judgments when you scrape the knee, right? From
Right?
rollerblading or something or whatever.
We
Like,
just, do a little some corrections. We're just like, oh, maybe we can do
yeah.
this or that instead. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, yeah.
It is Friday, so I'm burning my sex candle
Ooh,
right
all
now as we
right. What does it
speak.
smell like? What does it have a
That's a good
smell
question.
or?
It did crack too from getting too
Oh,
hot. So now it's like the listeners can't see, but it's this like really epic
it's
candle with this like
too
huge
hot.
crack at the
The
top,
sex
right? Which
candle
is like
burns too hot.
it's sometimes too powerful for the
You're just going to have
container.
incredibly intense sex this
It
weekend.
fucking actually cracked when I was leaving a job too, which I thought was really wild.
Ooh.
Like the day that I like
Mm.
left that job, it cracked, which I was like, oh, well, maybe that's a signal because I left it because there wasn't enough like
Okay.
sex focus where it's a whole thing. But the
Mm,
candle, it was
mm.
funny. I walked into this like it's like alchemy arts witchy bookstore, right? So I walk
Hmm.
in and like there's like this haze of sage. Like truly like you can
Mm.
see how smoky it is when you walk in. Like I'm opening the door and like smoke is coming out the door and I was like, whoa, this is my first time in this bookstore.
Hmm.
And I'm like, do you guys have any books on sex? And they're like, yeah, like over here. And it was like, like a couple of books. And they're like, do you want a sex candle? And I was like, you know what? I've never had one, but like, why not? And the lady was like, well, okay, so is this a one night stand sex candle or a long term relationship sex
Ooh.
sex candle? You know what I said? I was
Wow.
like I'm spiritually devoted to sexuality candle. She's like, got it. Starts like throwing all the stuff in there, all these herbs. She's like, here's your candle. You burn it on Fridays and Fridays only because that's the day of Venus
Ooh.
and love. And so like,
Wow. Okay. All right.
I'm like, yeah, I know, right? So hey, but man, every Friday, I've been burning.
God, I love humans. I love us meaning making
I know,
ritualistic
right?
humans.
I know,
Love
I
it.
love it so much. Michelle, it's been such a joy to have you on the podcast today. Thank you for joining me and all of the listeners. Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, again, thank you for having me on.
of
And yeah, it was
course.
a joy.
Of
God, always
course.
juicy conversation. Yeah.
Where can the listeners find you and all of your content?
Yeah, I am a solo platform queen. I just can't manage more than just Instagram, even though, fuck Meta, but
Yeah,
I'm on
yeah.
Instagram at polyamorous Asian. I don't post quite as often as I used to, but I'm still there. I'll post on stories and, my DMs are always open to, respectful conversation and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, come say hi, come go through the backlog of content. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
exactly. Yeah, so much work there. So thank you, Michelle. Thank you for all of your work, and truly thank you for joining me again on Modern Anarchy.
Yeah.
Dear listener, thank you so much for tuning in to Modern Anarchy. Thank you for sharing this episode with your friends, with your lovers, with your community. Truly, it means so much to me, and I am so grateful that you are here. If you are wanting to release jealousy in your non-monogamous dynamics and step into compersion and pleasure-filled connection, you can read my book, The Psychedelic Jealousy Guide, for free on my website. There you will also find so many other free resources, including worksheets on how to clearly communicate and set commitments and boundaries within your non-monogamous dynamics, and other ways to practice clear communication about your sexual desires so that you can step into your most pleasure-filled sex and relationships. So head on over to modernanarchypodcast.com to find all of those free resources. And I look forward to seeing you next week.